Hi, everyone. Thank you all for taking the time to join us this evening for this webinar. I'm just going to put a little note out here in case folks can't hear us to be prompted to go check their audio volumes. So we wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the World PEAS Cooperative and how it plays a part in this larger nonprofit effort of the New Entry Sustainable Farming Project, and also talk about some of the logistics that we need to go over for the season. And we are, this is our first time using this new format, this webinar, so we appreciate your patience. We're learning how to use it, just as many of you likely are, and we're really happy to have to have saved you all the hassle of driving out to a location, and also ourselves having driven all over the greater Boston and Lowell area as well. So I'm here. I'm joined with Kate. My name is Matthew. I'm joined here with Kate, and we're going to be giving this webinar together. So I'm going to. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to close this down. Don't want to say that. Is that still there? Okay. So as I mentioned, my name is Matthew Himmel. I've been the CSA coordinator for the past 4 years, and I am leaving in just over a week, and passing the baton on to Kate Pekoski and Rick Steck. And Kate will be giving this presentation with this evening. And she's about to walk us through some real quick technical details about how the webinar will work.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your flexibility and patience as we use a new technology. We're excited to see how it works and be able to connect with other people. So here's the quick overview of the tools to help you get the most out of the webinar and be familiar with the software. So your starting screen should look something like this. The presentation is on the left, and that's where right now you see our PowerPoint slide. And then there is a control panel on the right, although the control panel will auto-hide itself. So if that's happened, this is what your screen will look like, where there's a small little bar at the top right screen, and there's a way that you can open up that control panel so that you can see if any questions are being asked. Some people find it's useful to be able to have that screen open during the presentation. So if you want to see that minimized control panel, double click on that little arrow. On some computers that arrow is in orange. So you just double click that, your control panel will be opened up again. And if you want that to be visible for the entirety of the presentation, so you can see questions or any messages we have for you, you can just go to the view option on the top of the control panel and then unclick the auto hide control panel. So you remove that check mark that's next to it. And then your control panel will stay open the entirety of the presentation. If you cannot hear us, or if you would prefer to use a telephone to dial in and hear the audio mode will default to using your computer. So you need to go to the audio tab and maximize it. You just press a little plus sign next to audio, and you can say use telephone. And then it will give you a number to call and an access code and an audio PIN, which is unique to you. So if you have another friend or something who's calling in on a separate phone, make sure that they have a PIN that's unique to them as well. And the audio portion also shows some other useful information, although for us, we are sharing a computer to run this presentation, and the person speaking as shown will always say new entry, but I think Matthew and my voice are dissimilar enough that you will understand, you will know who's speaking. But we do have the audience muted, so we can't hear anything that's going on your end. If you're worried about being real quiet, so we don't hear you if you're on the phone or on your computer has a built-in microphone, we can't hear you. That being said, we obviously want to be able to interact with you and get questions from you if you have any. If you go to that control panel in the questions box, pop it out, there's a little plus sign. It has questions logged. So if you type in a question, just type the message, press send. It won't automatically send to the entire audience. It'll send to Matthew and I, and we will decide if we will answer it, and we will decide if it's the question and answer are valuable for the whole audience, and we'll send it to the whole audience, or we'll send it just to you. So if it's a specific question about, I know I can't pick up my CSA on X day, and we have, we might say this is going to be questions pertinent for everyone. We'll send it back to everyone. So that is how you can interact with us, and Matthew is manning the questions box right now, so if you have anything to send, please by all means do. So once your question is submitted, it'll appear in gray, and again, no one can see it except for us. And then we will answer, we will sometimes answer questions verbally. So if we say, oh, we see we have a question that says X, and we'll address it verbally, or we'll type a message back in. So either one, depending on where we are in the presentation, so keep an eye on that questions box. All right, and now just to give you a quick agenda of what our evening is for the presentation, Matthew's going to offer us an overview of the New Entry Sustainable Farming Project and the work that we do. I'll explain the role of World PEAS within the larger mission of the New Entry Sustainable Farming Project. We'll go over the logistics of the CSA, what to expect each week when you're picking up, what to do for July 4th, which is going to complicate plans a little bit for that week, but we think we have a really suitable option that will work for all our shareholders. And then we'll address any questions that haven't come up during the presentation. So please feel free to ask questions or of us as it's going along, and one of us will respond. But I'm going to pass it over to Matthew now to talk about New Entry.
Thank you, Kate. Oops. So as we mentioned, the World PEAS Cooperative, of which you are now members of the World PEAS CSA, is part of a larger nonprofit called the New Entry Sustainable Farming Project. And New Entry's mission is to strengthen our local food system by training new farmers, helping them access land and other resources, and helping them connect with consumers, such as yourselves. So New Entry is a joint project between the Friedman School of Nutrition, which is at Tufts University, and a community action agency located in Lowell called Community Teamwork, Inc. I assume many of you are familiar with Tufts University, but may not have heard of Community Teamwork, Inc. or CTI. CTI manages a lot of the kind of social action programs in the greater Lowell area, including Child and Family Services, Section 8 housing, the WIC, or Women's, Infants, and Children, nutrition program, family shelters, child care search, workforce development, run the farmers market, and so forth. So a bunch of programs up here. So why are we trying to train new farmers? So with generations of children growing up in farming families leaving the farms over the past couple of generations, the average age of farmers is now over 57, and that actually was in 2007. So you know, I'm not sure. Maybe now the average age is a bit older. So you know, farms have gotten much larger. Smaller farms have gone out of business, and you know, we've kind of, I feel like a lot of consumers, ourselves included, have kind of found ourselves in a situation where we go to the supermarket and it seems like food is coming from large, you know, corporate transnational farms, and much of it's coming from overseas. And at any rate, it seems like a very convoluted and unsustainable and unhealthy food system. So many of us, yourselves included, want to kind of get back to a more regional, more sustainable, more transparent food system. The tricky thing is that you know, we no longer have all the farmers to embody this new local regional food system. So that's what New Entry is trying to address. And we work with two distinct groups. We work with immigrants and refugees coming from the developing world, many of whom, like many people in lesser developed countries, have significant farming experience when they come here to the United States. And we also work more and more with folks that were born in the States, but who don't have a farming background. And the struggles that these two groups face are pretty unique. So you know, the immigrants and refugees that may have come from a full-time farming background, or at least, you know, like had a kitchen garden their entire lives, you know, they are probably pretty familiar with production practices, but are less familiar with the New England climate. English may not be their first language. You know, they may not know how to find access to land and the other resources they need to get started. The folks that are born in the States probably are much more familiar with local sort of market norms and the climate and so forth, but really don't have that production experience. And we have the same curriculum for both of them, and it begins with a farm business planning course. This is a 6-week program, 18 hours of contact. A relatively cursory course, but really forces folks to think about their farm in terms of a business, because a really critical component of sustainability is financial viability. So in this course, farmers are forced to think not just about like what do they want to grow, but like where do they plan to sell it so that it can be a financially self-sufficient enterprise. At the end of this farm business planning course, farmers are expected to produce a farm business plan. And we graduate up to 30 farmers per year. This past year, in 2012, we had 19 graduates. We have 21 farm business planning course graduates growing for the CSA, 2 of which graduated just this past year. And we've graduated about 200 since 2004. And in addition, we've also had 100 people complete a separate livestock training program, which we launched last year. So after having completed the farm business planning course and produced a business plan, farmers are eligible for kind of the next tier of services that New Entry provides. And that includes access to land on our training sites. So many of the farmers won't have land on their own, and so this provides an opportunity for them to begin farming. And each of these sites is equipped with a hoop house for farmers to start their seedlings in. We have walk-behind tractors with different implements for the farmers to use. We have full-size tractors that we'll use to plow the fields and rototill them. We'll lay plastic for farmers if they want, so we'll kind of do all of the full-size tractor work for them. We also have organic pesticides, which oftentimes are sold in such large quantities that it's very expensive for smaller farmers to purchase them. And we also have a tool sheds, with all sorts of hand tools that farmers can use. So really, the idea is that we're breaking down all the sort of economic barriers for farmers to starting their farm. So farmers need to buy their own seeds. They need to buy the drip tape that they'll use in their field. Although we have the pumps at all the farms, and we have header pipes going out to each of the fields. So it's just kind of the disposable things that the farmers will use during the season that they need to bring to the field. Beginning in March, having completed the farm business planning course, we begin with the production training, and the production courses, these field trainings run through the season as different as kind of the different tasks arise throughout the farming season. So beginning with a hoop house propagation workshop in March, so showing farmers how to start their cool weather crops, and it continues through the season, explaining how to lay out your field, how to set up your irrigation. When the first wave of flea beetles hits, which is right around now, we'll do an organic pest management workshop, all the way through harvest and post-harvest handling. In addition, if farmers need additional one-on-one technical assistance on any of the topics that are covered in the field trainings, they need a little bit more help setting up the irrigation in their plot, or they need some additional help setting up their production plan for the season to meet their the markets that they've committed to. Or if it's just something that wasn't covered in one of the field trainings, like how to stake and twine up the tomatoes, we provide one-on-one technical assistance on an as-needed basis for farmers. So farmers are allowed to rent land on our training sites for up to 3 years. We limit it because we don't have enough farmland to have the farmers stay there indefinitely. And so we need to make space for new farmers coming through. So we help farmers transition off onto independent sites through a land matching program. And this is actually a service that we provide to farmers that don't go through our program as well. I mean, we just we're constantly looking for parcels of land that are suitable for agriculture, but that aren't in use. And we're actually getting quite sophisticated with this, using GIS overlays and municipal maps to kind of see where are some prime agricultural farmland pieces that are haven't been developed and aren't being farmed yet. So we have, I think we've located 18 farmers at this point onto independent sites. And those independent sites might be, a parcel of land that they're renting from another farmer that's not farming all of their land. We've placed farmers in people's backyards, people who have large 2-3 acre backyards that aren't, that have all the trees removed but that they're not growing anything on. We have farmers growing on parcels of land owned by churches and so forth. So we're, there's a bunch of different arrangements that we kind of help farmers broker with landowners. So I'm going to pass this back over to Kate to talk about how the World PEAS fits into all of this.
Thank you, Matt. So Matt spoke a lot about the ways that New Entry Sustainable Farming Project is able to support farmers and assist them all the way from recruiting them and helping them with business planning to being able to access land and to receive a lot of technical assistance and training. But of course, the number one factor in creating a sustainable agricultural livelihood is to be able to sell the produce that you're growing, and that is where the World PEAS Marketing Cooperative fits in. And our mission is really to assist the new entry farmers in being able to access markets and a diversity of markets so that they're able to connect directly with consumers, and also to be able to connect our farmers to help supply markets that serve low-income individuals. So we have kind of a two-part mission. But basically, New Entry had existed for 5 years before the World PEAS Cooperative began, and it was initiated to be able to address farmers' difficulty in accessing these markets. So not only is finding markets to access difficult, but these World PEAS farmers had a couple other barriers that makes it even harder for them to create kind of sustainable agricultural businesses. One of those is language. We work with a lot of refugee farmers, and if they're trying to connect and their English language skills aren't so strong, it's hard for them to connect with markets beyond their own communities. Culture, quality, and display standards. There's different standards for how much you put in a bunch. For, if you're selling long beans, if you were in Cambodia, you might sell a 2-pound bunch, and here we sell them in smaller quantities, so helping them understand that. Lack of capital for a lot of upfront marketing initiatives, so it's very difficult to be able to do a lot of marketing through Facebook and Constant Contact and other ways that we reach out to consumers for people who might not have capital to be able to get services through different marketing organizations and social media organizations that you pay for services for, but also just a general lack of marketing savvy or technological barriers. Computers are really key to being able to find new markets and access new markets. Obviously, we are trying to explore even further technology by doing this webinar tonight. And so if farmers aren't quite as strong with that, it can be difficult to access and communicate effectively with customers. Lack of time. Most of our farmers, if not all of them, are already working a full-time job, and this is an additional work investment that they have to farm. So being able to run their own CSA would be far too many work hours in addition to their full-time job that they have already. Lack of adequate transport. A lot of markets, we drive a ton of our CSA boxes all over the city in the greater Boston area, and so if you don't have a big enough vehicle or a refrigerated vehicle like we do, it can be hard to supply a CSA. And insufficient volumes. As Matthew said, a lot of our farmers are growing maybe 1/4 of an acre if it's their first year with us, and that's just not enough to be able to produce enough to sell reliably and fill a farmer's market stand or something like that. So we're able to help these farmers overcome these barriers by aggregating produce from many farmers. So unlike a lot of CSAs that maybe are one farm that runs the program off their land, we are aggregating produce from over 24 different new entry farmers. We can help them with quality standards. We handle the marketing for them, as well as the delivery, customer service, and accounting. So we do all of the farmer payments. We process their payments for them every 2 weeks. So to give you a little bit of a history of the markets that we have helped farmers access, in 2005, World PEAS began by going to farmers markets, and we were selling farmer produce that way. In 2006, wholesale markets were added. We were selling to Whole Foods and an international food store in Boston called Tropical Foods, and started a very small CSA in 2006 with just 15 shareholders. In 2007, we realized that the CSA became really our guaranteed market, and it was a good platform for educating consumers and really for streamlining our operations. So we went up to 45 members, 45 shareholders that year, and really stopped concentrating on these wholesale markets because we felt that we could with the different types of farmers we were working with, the size of crops, land they were growing crops on, made a lot more sense to focus on a CSA model for connecting them to markets. In 2008, we were up to 100 share members, added a fruit share and a winter share. 2009, we were at 218 shareholders with fruit shares and winter shares, and those were kept separate. You had to buy a fruit share separately or a winter share separately. In 2010, we decided to do fruit in all of the shares, decided it was delicious and healthy and we should just include it for everyone. We were up to just over 300 share members in 2010, and had a separate extended season share, which we still do. And we had roughly the same model as that in 2011 with 410 shareholders. We have about the same number this year. But now that we since we started focusing exclusively on the CSA, we've ended up diversifying back into some of those other wholesale markets, namely through our low-income food access initiative. So we do, once we kind of got the CSA running, got it to a really healthy level of 400 plus share members, we decided we could look back into expanding into some of these other markets. So we do run a farmers market program with UTEC, which I'll talk about later, and we've expanded into some more wholesale options through our low-income food initiatives. So in terms of our low-income markets, this is another part of our mission. It's really important to be able to provide local and culturally appropriate produce to low-income families. Being able to offer produce that is similar to what people are used to eating here or in their home country in many cases is really important when you're talking about food security. So the fact that we have farmers growing some really diverse ethnic crops is really great to be able to provide those to low-income markets, which sometimes are not able to get that type of produce. Obviously, it's really difficult. We have kind of this food policy dilemma, which is seen just about everywhere. We want to get high prices to farmers for their food. Many of these farmers are low-income individuals themselves, but we, as a program, don't have funds to be able to make donations of their products, basically to be able to pay our farmers for food that we will donate. We really need to be paying them for the food that they're giving to the CSA. So instead, we've been very fortunate that our shareholders are very generous. A lot of you have contributed to our low-income food initiatives when you signed up for our shares. So we use those donations to be able to provide food for low-income markets, and we've been able to partner with state and federal programs as well as some privately funded programs to get grant money to be able to service these low-income markets. So in 2011, we sold just over $28,000 in combined sales for these markets, which I'll talk about what they are in a moment, it's not a small number of our total revenue. It was roughly 12%, which is pretty impressive. So to talk a little bit about the different markets that you've been supporting with your donations that we run, one is a program where we provide fresh produce for Homebound Seniors. The Elder Service Program is a state-funded program. It's kind of like WIC, the Women's, Infants, and Children's Nutrition Program, but it's for Homebound Seniors. They receive senior coupons for produce, and we do that connected to Somerville, Cambridge Elder Services, Inc., and also Kit Clark Senior Services, which is located in Dorchester. And so we're able to plan crops in the winter, because we know a sense of what will be requested for our Homebound Senior programs as we make those partnerships in the winter and are able to decide to figure out kind of what crops we need to plan for these shares. So each senior receives $25 of these kind of senior coupons, which the Elder Service provider can break up into 1, 2, or 3 distributions. So instead of doing a weekly small box full of vegetables or something like that, what we do is we do specific shares for seniors that we pack into bags pre-packed, and then we bulk deliver it to the agency, and the agency distributes it with Meals on Wheels. So in 2011, we had a total sales of about $9,800 in produce, which went to almost 500 seniors, which is a really great way to help these homebound seniors access some fresh vegetables. We also work with a Community Teamwork, Inc., which is, of course, the agency that Matthew talked about that sponsors us. They run a summer feeding program. So a difficult challenge faced by many low-income families is that their children, who are almost always fed either breakfast and lunch or just lunch by their school, are not able to provide a lunch during the summertime when school is not in session. So there's a federally funded program that the USDA runs to help with summer feeding initiatives, and it's, as I said, administered by CTI. So they work with us to buy crops that will be really useful for their lunches or snacks. so things like cucumbers, tomatoes, lettuce, apples, sweet corn. So it's a really great way for our low-income members of our community to be able to get some really fresh vegetables, and also a great way to be able to provide food for our farmers. So it's really great that this initiative is able to purchase the rates that we're hoping to get. Another initiative we have right here in Lowell is with the WIC program, which is the Women's, Infants, and Children's Food Assistance Program, also administered through Community Teamwork, Inc. And we plan about $1,300 in food distributions that we'll do over the course of the season, and that $1,300 is entirely donated very generously by all of you. And then any extras that we have throughout the week, if we have a bulk order of potatoes and we filled up all the shares evenly and we have some extra, we'll take that to the Lowell WIC, and then donated shares. So I'll talk about this later, but if you can't pick up your share one week, you have the option to donate it, and the Lowell WIC is the place that will take it. So it's a very diverse community in Lowell, and it's really great that we can get that culturally appropriate food to them when we're able to make donations to the Lowell WIC. A new pilot project that we have this year that we're really excited about is, again, another initiative that is connected to Community Teamwork, Inc. and the Lowell Farmers Market. And this is a new model that allows individuals who receive SNAP benefits, which are basically food stamps, to be able to use those SNAP benefits to purchase a small share on a weekly basis. So what they do is they provide $10 of their EBT, their SNAP benefits, to us, and they're getting a $20 value small share box. And they have to sign up for it a week in advance so that we know that we will plan to have those shares at the farmers market available for them to pick up. And we're really excited about this. We think it's a really interesting model to be able to provide a CSA share at basically half cost to low-income individuals. So the goal is to have 15 of these vegetable shares purchased each week, and we've done a ton of outreach and promotion in the Lowell community, actually doing a lot of Cambodian language and Spanish language outreach as well. And another very important low-income market we have is the Merrimack Valley Food Bank. This was initiated through a fundraiser by a shareholder who at his birthday party raised a lot of money to have a new food access initiative. So we are very, very grateful for that. And so we were able to get $800 through this shareholder's fundraising birthday party to launch this initiative. And the produce is distributed in community markets. And really, our niche with the food bank is to be able to provide culturally important crops, so especially Cambodian crops that are difficult for food banks to source. They have a lot of the food banks have connections with really large farms to be able to source produce like onions, carrots, potatoes, things like that. So we're able to kind of provide these specialty Asian crops that they can't normally source for their community markets that they help support. And last but not least is the United Teen Equality Center Farmers Markets. So we have United Teen Equality Center is a program that works with at-risk youth and offers different programming, offers GED classes, offers gang intervention programs, really a huge and really important social service agency for youth in the greater Lowell area. And one program that they have is a program called Fresh Roots, which is a program that not only does agriculture experience for youth, but also catering, like social enterprise businesses. So through this partnership with UTEC, we've been able to re-enter farmers markets. UTEC hosts farmers markets at the Tufts campus. So we sell produce to them through that program, which they're able to run. Kids get experience with marketing, interacting, getting customer service experience. It's very valuable for them. Diversifies our market. We've purchased food from UTEC from the plots that they've grown in the past. So it's a pretty interesting partnership that works with a Lowell agency, works with the Tufts community, and is a really great model all around for getting kind of social justice initiatives and food connected. So we're really excited about that again. So in addition to the markets that we help our farmers access through the CSA and through these low-income food initiatives, we also make sure that our farmers are looking to diversify their markets that they're selling to on their own. It's important that just like they have a diversity of crops that they plant, that they have a diversity of places to sell the crops that they're growing. So our farmers do that in different ways. So some of our farmers sell at farmers markets or the flea market here in Lowell, and they coordinate to rent booth space there, and they sell their produce there. Some of them do wholesale based on the size of what they're growing. It can be really difficult for our farmers to do wholesale if they're only growing on 1 to 2 acres, but some of them do that, and we help them facilitate those relationships. Some of them do have their own CSAs. So some of our farmers that we work with sell to us and also run their own CSA that's a bit of a smaller scale than ours. So we have, you know, a couple farmers that are selling to the CSA this year. You'll receive some of their produce. They're also running their own CSA of anywhere from 15 to 75 shareholders. And then direct sales to the community. So a lot of our farmers are able to, you know, run kind of impromptu farm stands on their land, sell to their neighbors through churches or cultural organizations, things like that. So we encourage them to find ways to sell the produce that they've worked so hard to grow. So as you can see, we've been talking a lot about sustainable farmer livelihoods, and a big part of that is farmer income. And as I mentioned before, many of our farmers have another full-time job in addition to farming. This is supplemental income for them, and for a lot of them it really makes a big difference in their family's financial stability. So as you can see, you know, we try and have our farmers have income coming from a variety of sources for their farms, and I should note that this income is not their total annual income. This is only income from their farming projects. But the cooperative is what's shown in green on this bar graph, and that's this is a bit outdated. This is from 2009. But as you can see, for a lot of our farmers, World PEAS Cooperative is the bulk of their income coming in from their farming operation. So the farmer number 1 on this slide was also running their own CSA. So you can see that they were able to get a lot of their income from that, but still a sizable amount from us. A couple of them do farmers markets, which is that blue that you see. So they're trying to diversify, but we're definitely a big part of the majority of their market, their primary market for sure. So a lot of our farmers make between $3,000 to $6,000 each growing season. This year we have a lot more in the kind of the $6,000 to $8,000 range, but we're likely going to see a similar spread in terms of where their incomes are coming. We don't have the data yet from last year. And just to give you kind of a sense of how all the planning goes in to be able to have this CSA happen, we just wanted to give you a brief overview of everything that's happened before now. Now, you know, it's June and plants are in the ground and we're all really excited to see, but there's a lot that happens in the winter to be able to make the CSA happen. So Matthew started planning for the season in November of last year. And the first thing he does for that is to process survey feedback. So for those of you who are new shareholders, each year at the end of the season we send a survey to you to try and find out what is important to you in the CSA, what you would like to see more of, what we can do to make this more effective for you, and we take those survey results and that assessment data really seriously in order to be able to plan. So this year our survey focused heavily on, and a lot of the survey feedback we had said, I really want to be able to register online, so we were able to make that happen. In past it's been on contents of the shares, what you want to see more of, and how much you're actually getting. We're able to receive farmer feedback for the following year. We want to see what we're doing, how our processes and operations are impacting the farmers and how we can make that more efficient. And then we look at our financials, decide kind of where we are in terms of the amount of CSA shares that we'll need to sell to be able to cover our expenses. So in the past, you know, we decide, you know, we can afford to stay on track, or we would like to expand by this much. And then we, based on the number of shares we intend to sell, we do a crop bidding process. So a lot of farms, if they're the only farm supplying the CSA, they don't have to do this, but because we're a multi-producer CSA, we have a very kind of complex matrix that we use to be able to determine which farmers will be growing which crops for the CSA. So obviously we need to take into account that they need to have a diversity of crops that they're planting, and we certainly don't want them putting that whole kind of $3,000 that they, you know, might be getting in one crop. That's not sustainable. So we have a matrix of how to evaluate farmers and how to decide what their total kind of bid in terms of sales that they'll get will be, so it's fair throughout. And then we assign which crops go to which farmers. And then of course we do marketing and outreach, which I'm hopefully you all saw our posters. There's probably word of mouth. We're always looking for ways to spread the word and attract shareholders. And then once the CSA, that's a lot of the back work that happens in the office and not so much in the fields. We're trying to communicate with, with all of our farmers and get things settled. Moves to now, and the CSA starts next week. And to give you a bit about kind of everything that happens on our end. What we do, you know, beginning the end of the week prior, so this Friday I'll start it, we reach out to farmers to make sure that they have the crops that we have asked them to grow for that week. So some of our farmers, for example, will call us in advance and say, I know I'm supposed to deliver 50 bunches of kale. It's been eaten up. I don't have it, but I do have, you know, a bunch of collard greens. Would you like those instead? And so we adjust for missing crops or kind of unexpected crops that we didn't know how to have, and we source some crops from outside farms. So we buy in additional crops for some things that our farmers just don't grow very often. So some of our farmers, a lot of our farmers don't grow potatoes or sweet corn, so we source that from other farms in the greater Boston area. The farms deliver their vegetables. They harvest, they clean them, they pack them, they deliver them to a cooler unit that we have. So they get very cold the night before or the morning of the CSA delivery, because we want them to be as cold to withstand the delivery as possible. And then we pick up any additional crops. And then what we do, and we met all of our volunteer share packers today, and we're very excited, is we pack our shares up. So some farms offer what is called kind of a farmer's market setup for a CSA, where they just have all the crops out and tell you take 1 pound of this and half a pound of that. We box everything up because it makes it easier for distribution for our customers. You just go and you pick up what you need. So we pack all the shares with our volunteers. We're packing about 130, 140 shares every day. In a new warehouse space we have in Lowell, we make sure that we're handling the produce well, making sure the produce is packed in a way that doesn't damage it, and so it's best when it's coming to you. I produce a weekly newsletter. This is something that I will email out to you. It has articles about our farmers and which farmers produce which crops in your box, crop information on how to handle and store different crops, recipes, of course, for what you should be doing or what we think would be tasty with the vegetables in your CSA share. We then deliver all of the shares to our cluster sites, or we prepare a distribution site. This is something that we don't do quite as much of anymore. We used to have on-farm pickups, so we had a really pretty distribution site, which you see in that left-hand corner of the slide. At this point, we are doing mostly deliveries to offices, homes, and workplaces. So we'll deliver shares to cluster sites, and then you guys pick them up. So our shareholders are picking up their shares from a variety of locations. So we have some shareholders who pick up in retail stores. For example, our Lowell shareholders pick up at a retail store. We work with a lot of churches who let us use their space for a delivery site. We have a bunch of very, very generous shareholders who open up their homes to us. Andover and Lexington and Winchester and Cambridge, we have individuals who say, you know, I'm happy to have shareholders come and pick up here and use my space, and we're very grateful to them. We also work at a couple campuses. We work at the Tufts campus, both in Chinatown and in Medford, and Bunker Hill Community College as well. We work at a couple hospitals in Burlington. And we work with some other nonprofits, of course. We have a drop-off in Charlestown at the Lower Crossing Learning Center. We've increased the number of distributions we've had from just 1 in 2006 to 9 sites in 2009 and all the way up to 19 sites this year. So we really have to increase the number of locations to be able to order in order to be able to achieve the growth that we want. We can't say we want 100 new shareholders this year and not expand any of our sites. It's just too difficult. Our pickup sites do differ in the number of shareholders each one. We have some pickup sites that are 15 to 18, and we have some that are well over 50. And so we do have some pickup locations that aren't a ton of shareholders because we don't need to have staff members run distributions. We are able to just set our boxes out and tell our shareholders where to pick them up. We really want to be able to get our foot in the door at locations that we think will be lucrative and be able to build our pool of shareholders every year. So here's kind of the nitty-gritty, the logistics that especially all of our new shareholders need to know in terms of how to be, what to do every week for the CSA, what to expect, and pickup times and all of that. So I definitely encourage you. And these instructions are also all in the document that I sent to you as well, the shareholder instructions document. But we figured it would be valuable to be able to talk about it now. So we have FAQs, as I said, online. In addition to that, the shareholder instructions PDF that was attached to the email I've sent out before. So pickup times is probably one of the most important things. The pickup time for your specific location is listed on the shareholder instructions guide. It'll say, you know, pick up in Bedford is this time, pick up in Burlington is this time. That's when the CSA shares are available, and unless it's otherwise noted on your shareholder instructions, shares are not available outside of those times. Unclaimed shares will be handled by the discretion of the coordinator who's hosting the site. A lot of times those shares are donated if there's shares left over. We really encourage you to be on time, not only out of respect for the people who are opening their homes or their workplaces for you to be able to pick up, but because produce is not refrigerated at the pickup locations. It's been cooled in the cooler, it's been cooled at our truck, so it is kept, we do keep the kind of internal temperature of the vegetables in that box as cold as possible, so it's really going to be fresh and wonderful, but if you're not able to pick up during that window, we can't guarantee that it's going to be as good quality if it's not being able to be refrigerated. Unless it's noted on your shareholder instructions, unless they say you can pick up your share until noon the next day or something like that, do not ask the site coordinator if you can pick up outside of the normal drop-off time. It's a big taking on to have people coming and to offer their home for CSA pickup shares, so we can't ask that you say, do you mind if I stop by on Wednesday? Can you keep in your fridge? They're doing a lot for us, so we ask that you kind of coordinate with friends or something like that to be able to pick up a share if you can't do it on a specific day, and I'll talk more about that in a second. So large versus small share, when you were registering, you had a choice to choose between the large or small, and as you can see in this picture, they come in different boxes, so it's really important to remember this because there isn't someone at the distribution site to tell you, oh, you have a small share, here you go. Small shares are kept in green boxes, large shares are kept in boxes with red writing, and it's really important that you make sure that you're picking up the correct size when you are going to pick up your share. And when you're picking up your share, there will be a clipboard there with your name and what size share you have, and you just check off that you're there, and then you'll check off about your boxes as well. We will deliver these in boxes the first week. They'll be delivered in another set of boxes the next week, but we ask that second week with CSA, you bring back the box that that the first share was delivered in. These boxes are a huge investment for us. It's really important that we are able to get them back. And there is a question on the, or a check mark spot, excuse me, rather, on the checkoff sheet that will be at the CSA distribution site saying, did you return your box? And we will check in with you if we see that you haven't returned your box in several weeks, because we need to get those back and be able to keep them in circulation. So we will let you know if we need to get that box back from you. If after a month we've contacted you, we still haven't gotten these boxes back, we will need to charge a small fee, a nominal fee of $5 to be able to replace that box. If you cannot pick up your share, this happens a lot. You go on vacation, you're not going to be working that day, something happens, you have a few options. So one option that is always really useful and that I found really useful and made me very popular among some friends when I had a CSA share in the past is to have your friend pick up your CSA share if you're on vacation or you cannot go to the share site. There's no need to notify me if that's the case. What you do is you just tell your buddy where and when the pickup is. So, say it's the test pickup from, 4 to 10 p.m. at Medford site, and here's the address. Go on Wednesday and tell them when it is, and then have them just check off next to your name on that checkoff sheet that they picked it up. But the most important thing with that is to make sure to tell them which size box is yours. So if you tell them, oh, just pick up my share and check off my name, they're not going to know necessarily which size you have in terms of the share, which one to say. So just say pick up a red box or pick up a blue box. Again, it's also noted what size box you get on the checkoff sheet, so they have a way to check there as well. And of course, if they're picking up your CSA share, it's likely that you haven't, they don't have the wax box that you had from the prior week. When you come back from vacation or whatever you're doing next week, just bring back the 2 boxes that way. So that way you can just return them. If you can't have a friend pick up and you can't pick up your share, let me know the Thursday prior to when the CSA will be held. So, for example, if you couldn't pick up next week, I would ask you to let me know by noon this Thursday, and I'll make arrangements to donate your share to one of our nonprofit partners, which is usually, as I said before, the Lowell WIC office. So that way it's not just going to waste. If you can't pick up your share, we will donate it to one of our low-income partners. low-income market partners. Another important thing about locations. Once you've registered for a site, it's very difficult for us to switch your pickup site. Not because it's out of the way, obviously we're dropping off at all the different spots, but because the day of the week that each of our share is, it really, if we have to change the day of the week that we have, you know, say 30 large shares on a Tuesday and then 20 large shares on a Wednesday, we have to switch, you know, your share to be to a Wednesday pickup site. It changes our production schedules for our farmers, so it's really difficult. So if you do need to switch your site, we will do it for you, but we do have to charge a $25 fee for all of the staff time that goes into helping communicate with farmers and switching all the production schedules for that. And I'll need at least 2 weeks' notice to switch your pickup site. So just, if that's something you need to do, if you move, if something happens, let me know and we can do it for you, but we just wanted to give you a heads up that it is a little bit of a process. In terms of the other thing on the sign-up sheet, if you're picking up your share, they are coming in wax boxes, so if you have a long way to walk or don't want it to rub off on your clothes, we suggest that you bring bags that you can pack your share into, and then you can leave your box there and just check off that you have returned your box for the following week. Splitting shares. This is common among many of our CSA members. They say, oh, I have a good friend or, you know, a roommate or a colleague, and we're going to split one of the shares because one of them will be too much for me. This is fantastic, and we just ask that you make arrangements with your share partner to coordinate pickup. So you have a couple options. Either one of you can pick up the share and then, you know, split it with the person that you're sharing it with at a later date at your home or at their home or something. You can both meet at the share site and split the share that way, although we ask that you do it away from the pickup site because otherwise we can mix produce, it'll get you crowded. Some of our sites, we just can't have people taking vegetables out of the boxes. It's a retail store and it won't look, it'll get confusing. So you can meet up, we just ask that you split the share like at your car or something or outside of the shop. But the most important thing to note with this is that if you're splitting a share, never take half the produce out of a box and just leave the remaining half a box at the pickup site for someone else to pick up. It's really easy for someone to just take that box that you've left, even if you've maybe marked it. We don't have anyone staffing the site, so we can't tell you. We don't want anyone to think that box is full and get just a half share. So we just ask that you never take half of the produce out and say, oh, this box is for Sue, she'll pick up the other half and have Sue pick it up. We've had too many instances where that has been a tricky situation and someone's only getting half a share at the end of the day. So we ask that you just split off site or coordinate, you know, I'll pick up this week, you pick up next week, something like that. At some of our sites, we are able to offer a swap box, which is a really fun thing to be able to have at a site if possible, because if there is a crop or something that you know you just will not eat, there's a chance someone else at your pickup site loves this. At a CSA, I used to work at beets. We're very popular at the swap box. They seem to be kind of a love it or hate it type of vegetable. So some people said, no, I'm never going to eat these. The next person to come in was thrilled they could get extra beets. So we'll have this labeled, and basically, you know, feel free to put something in that you don't want to use. And if you put something in that you don't want to use, there's something in there that you want, you're welcome to take something when you're swapping out vegetables. We can't have that at all of our sites. For example, retail store sites, it would get too confusing with the customers who are there to buy produce that they're selling there as well. And of course, the extended season share. So there's still availability if you would like to register for the extended season share. It is allows you to get some really good storage crops and other things to continue, so you continue having produce from us well into the fall. Email me if you're interested, and I'll help you register. Pickups are all at the same locations. If you pick up in Reading for the regular season, you'll pick up in Reading for the extended season, but it might be at a different day for some of you because we only do one distribution per week with the extended season. So we don't do a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday drop-off. We'll pick one day of the week and distribute it then, but we'll, of course, communicate all of that with our extended season shareholders. So as I mentioned before, 4th of July is a little bit of a hiccup. World PEAS has been around for a really long time, and never in the history of World PEAS has July 4th fallen on a day that we do CSA distribution. So we had to figure out how to do that, and we just physically can't offer a delivery on July 4th. First of all, you're probably not going to want to go pick up a CSA share when, you know, barbecues and fireworks are happening. We won't have any work share volunteers that we could get that day. offices or homes are not going to be available to host drop-offs because they're going to be doing 4th of July things, so we just can't offer delivery that day. So what we are offering to shareholders who pick up on Wednesdays is to either donate their share or to pick up their share Tuesday or Thursday at one of the existing sites. So what I'll do is I'll email all of our Wednesday shareholders a survey to say, this is my preference for what I would like to do for July 4th. I'd like to donate it. I'd like to pick it up at this site on Tuesday, or I'd like to pick it up at this site on Thursday. And so unfortunately we can't offer, the exact same pickup site for you on that Tuesday or Thursday because homes or offices aren't open, but we'll do our very best to accommodate, and we're sure that we've checked our schedule and we have a drop-off that Tuesday or Thursday, so we're very close to where you're picking up already. And if you can't pick up, that Tuesday or Thursday, you can always donate the share and know it's going to a good cause. So I will email all of our Wednesday shareholders about that. And Tuesday and Thursday, folks, you're set. You're free, and 4th of July did not impact your share. A quick note just on boxes, because this is always something that comes up, is our CSA boxes. So we ask that after you, get all your vegetables out, that you unfold them so you can return them the next week. To open the boxes, it's a little tricky the first time you do it, although it's quite simple. To open the box, if you have it sitting so that the bottom is upright and is facing you, you slide the top flap, the one that says, or this is to open both the large and small shares when you pick them up and they're full of vegetables. You just slide the top flap, the one that says perishable, keep refrigerated, away from the center. So you don't pull it up, you just slide it back. And then if you're collapsing the boxes, to collapse the small share box, what you do is you open the top as, the first picture shows. You turn the box over, and then you slide, again, those two narrower flaps away from the bottom of the box. So once again, don't pull up. Never pull up on these boxes. Always slide. And with the large share boxes, which are the ones with the red writing, open the top, and then turn the box over and push in on the flaps. So you actually, instead of sliding these out, you just push everything down. Don't pull up. Don't bend the corners. Once the box flaps that are on the side have disengaged, once you push down on all of that, they'll disengage. You can pull them out, and it'll lay flat. So it's pretty simple. And also Matthew has created a very informative YouTube video of how to do this that a lot of people in a lot of different CSAs actually use to show how you unfold these boxes, because they're a little tricky the first time you do them, but they're definitely the best boxes, and they're kind of standard for a lot of agricultural practices. So almost to the end, connecting with World PEAS. So obviously community-supported agriculture, we want to build community as much as we can, and we try and do this in a lot of different ways since we don't actually see a lot of you all the time because we are a kind of remote drop-off CSA. So we look to other ways to be able to create community among our shareholders and to make sure we're still giving you a unique experience and something other than just a box of delicious fresh veggies, which, let's face it, is pretty good on its own. But one way that we do this, as I talked a little bit before, is our newsletter. I'll email that to you, and anyone who's registered and any of the emails that were associated with your registration will be emailed. We'll also have a few hard copies at each of the drop-off sites if you prefer to pick up a hard copy. They've got recipes, they've got profiles of our farmers, they've got storage handling tips, things like that. If you have any friends who are interested in getting our newsletter or who you split a CSA share with, it's really easy for them to be able to join the mailing list. If you forward them the original message you get in the email, have them click on the link on the left that says join our mailing list. And that's from the email, not the attachment, but the email that you'll get. There's a link that says join our mailing list, and have them select which pickup day newsletter they'd like to receive. So if you're a Wednesday shareholder, your friend that you're sharing your sites with is a Wednesday shareholder, they just go to the email that they get that you've received, forward it to them, click join our mailing list, and then there's a mailing list called Wednesday shareholders. And then they'll get that. One way, we've really embraced technology, and social media is certainly one thing that has been important for helping us connect with our community and connect you guys. So we're trying to be as active on Facebook as we can to be able to provide you with information and help you guys connect as well. So we, suggest that you use Facebook, the Facebook wall that we have, to connect with other shareholders. Say you want to organize a carpool with people in your area to come out to the farm tour in August. You want a recipe idea, you say, I'm in the Charlestown area, I have more, summer squash, and I know what to do is someone come over and bake, zucchini bread with me. great place to do that. We'll be posting updates and recipes and things on our Facebook account as well. We'll also be on Twitter, which is mostly just for a convenience sake so that you know when we've dropped off shares at a specific site. So you can, we'll tweet when we are able to drop off at a certain site, and then you can actually get those Twitter updates by text message to your phone if you text follow new entry to the number 40404, and then that update that says, hey, we've reached Bedford, or hey, we've reached Charlestown, will be sent to your phone. We also are starting something new this year because it is catching on in the social media world. We're on Pinterest, and you can just follow World PEAS. We have boards for recipes for spring, summer, and fall. So, and I've tried to post recipes that have that aren't so complicated, have minimal ingredients. I know not everyone has a super stocked pantry at all times, so I think it's inspiring, at least with all of our food, to be able to see a picture of a really easy sugar snap pea recipe and say, that's what I'm going to do with my share tonight. So follow us on Pinterest. I'm trying to keep that as updated as possible. And then, we're going to try and coordinate some shareholder potlucks at some drop-off locations, try and find ways to help you meet face-to-face. We know a webinar is not the most interactive way for you to be able to connect, but we wanted to be able to talk live with you and be able to address all of your questions and concerns live, and also any ideas that you have about ways to build community with shareholders at your cluster sites are very much appreciated. We're very excited to be able to really focus on finding ways to connect you with our farmers, but and our produce, which is obviously very important to us, but also with each other, because you guys are all buying into a really important social investment, really, and we think that you could connect over food and different ways together by being a World PEAS shareholder. So now, if there's any questions that haven't been answered, you can certainly type all those in. We appreciate all of your time and for being here today. Matthew and I will stick around on the question board a little longer. We won't end the webinar now, so we'll answer questions for another 5-10 minutes until they stop coming in. And again, you can always refer to the shareholder instructions or to the online FAQs, or you can email me at kpetkoski, that's K as in Kate, P-E-T-C-O-S-K-Y, @comteam.org, and I will be happy to answer any questions for you. So we're really excited to get the season started. Again, it starts next week. Next Tuesday will be the first delivery, and we're really excited and looking forward to a wonderful season with all of you. So thank you for your time, and we wish you the best this growing season, and keep in touch.